Hey, hey, hey. Good morning, Facebook family. How are we feeling today? Happy Thursday. So, today's topic is what or how to eat to lose weight, or what foods to eat to help you to lose weight. So if you're on, just say hello, hit the like button, the thumbs up. Let me know you're there. I'd love to see you. I'd love to converse with you. So let me know that you're there. And I will pretty much jump straight into it. If you've got any questions along the way, please ask them in the comments below. If I see them and if I've got time, I'll cover them as we go. Otherwise, I can answer them at the end. If you're watching this on replay, please hit hashtag replay so I know that you've seen it, and I hope you find this video beneficial. Alrighty, so what to eat to lose weight. Alrighty, so the foods that we eat, or the foods that we choose to eat if we're looking to lose weight, become super important because they can have a direct impact on how we then can control our hunger. And we want to be choosing, I guess, the right foods for our body to nourish our body and to actually satisfy those cravings. And if we're actually on a diet as such, and I say that in inverted commas, then we're going to be dealing with cravings and perhaps even restrictions there. So we want to be looking to have the most nutrient-dense foods available to be able to satisfy that hunger and satisfy those cravings. Now, when we think about losing weight as such, I guess to put it in a simplest form possible, there will be a number of other factors that influence whether you can lose weight or not. However, the scientific equation as such, the calories in versus calories out, is going to determine the weight that you do lose and how much you do lose in that space. So calories in being your food, so as long as we are consuming less than we are calorie-wise actually expending. So we expend calories through exercise, as well as just simply being alive. Our body, keeping us alive is expending calories. So when we actually consider that in that space, we want to be able to be eating the most amount of food for the least amount of calories possible, right? I mean, I know I do. So that's where we enter in nutrient-dense food. So these nutrient-dense foods are going to help to keep us feeling fuller for longer. And the more full that we can feel over a longer period of time, then the less we're going to keep going back and back to eat more and more food. So I'm a big believer in health before anything else. Alrighty, so if we can actually make or create the healthiest environment possible for our body, so be the healthiest that we can be, we're going to find losing weight or the ability to lose weight that much easier. So if we're in a healthy state, we will lose weight easier. However, opposed to if we're always in a stress state, if we're lacking sleep or not getting enough quality sleep, or if we're suffering from a lot of inflammation through our gut, then we're actually in an unhealthy state in that space, and we're going to actually find it really difficult to lose weight because our body's main aim and main purpose is to be able to keep us alive. So simply to keep us alive. So if we're already, in a stressed out state, so we're not in a state of balance, a state of homeostasis, then our body does not prioritize losing weight whatsoever. So our body's main aim is to keep us alive. Alrighty, so if it's busy trying to keep us alive, so trying to control the inflammation, trying to reduce our stress levels and our cortisol levels, then losing weight, that becomes quite low on the list of priorities in the space of actually just keeping you alive. So being able to keep our body in the most healthiest state available and that we can is going to make that journey of losing weight that much easier to actually, achieve in that space. So when it comes to what food to eat to lose weight, there's no one particular food, and there's no one set way or, one particular food that's going to allow you to lose weight quicker than another food. And there's no one set thing in particular to eat. Alrighty, so it's about consistency over time. So our bodies are like super smart in that space. As I said before, our main aim is just to keep us alive. So our bodies are much smarter than we are in that space. So it actually takes the law of averages, so to speak, in the sense of what you do on a consistent basis over time is what's going to allow you to actually receive or to achieve the results that you want in that space. So saying that, eating one salad one day is most definitely not going to get us thin. And the same with eating one pizza one day is most certainly not going to get us fat. Alrighty, so consider that, and consistency truly is key, and consistency truly is king in this space. So the most consistent things we can do day in, day out on that consistent basis is what's going to lead us to actually get and make those results that we actually want. Alrighty, so it's a lifestyle of consistency over time. So honor yourself enough in this space to actually invest the time and the money into nutrient-dense foods. So those foods that are actually going to nourish us and help to keep us feeling fuller for longer, so that we're not constantly, heading back to the fridge and looking for more food to eat. Alrighty. And what I want you to also consider in this space as well is your actual, what is the relationship that you have with food? Are you somebody that labels foods good or bad? And is it a healthy relationship that you have with food? So there's not necessarily any good versus bad foods. So I like to think of, and when I actually, came across this this analogy as such, it really just made a lot of sense and resonated a lot with me, in the sense of food is fuel and food is medicine for this incredible body that we have that keeps us alive and allows us to do all these amazing things that we can do on a daily basis. So if we think about food in that sense, as opposed to good versus bad foods, we think about food as our medicine and the driving force to keep our bodies able to do the things that we want to on a day-to-day basis, it actually starts to change your perception around food in that space. And if we can also think about food as more nutrient-dense foods, as opposed to, on the other end of the spectrum is our nutrient-empty type of foods. Alrighty, so change your perception, or look at changing your perception around what you label food as. And another thing as well, I touched on, or I did a whole video around binge eating last week. So if you missed that one, then just pop in the comments below binge eating, and I'll be able to tag you in that video. It's heaps of amazing information around overcoming binge eating. However, in the sense of what I'm talking about today, are you somebody that will eat, quite strictly, shall we say, during the week, and then on the weekends have blowouts, or, actually then binge eat a lot of food or a lot of unhealthy food on the weekends. So you're actually in that space then, you're not being consistent over the whole week. So look at, I guess, the week as a whole and just keep as consistent as you can over the longer period of time to allow your body to then actually make the changes that you're hoping to receive in that space. Alrighty. So now another thing that I actually experience quite a lot when it comes to talking to people and females in particular, we actually, we don't eat enough food. Like I would say a stereotypical kind of thought with a lot of females I speak to is that, if their goal is to lose weight, their first reaction or their first thought is they have to actually start to eat less food. Now, this is not always the case. And a lot of the time, like when I actually ask them, what they do eat, that they're just not eating enough as such. So, I talked about our bodies just, its main purpose to keep us alive. If we're not actually fueling our body correctly or with enough fuel, then our body is going to start hanging on to, those fat storages as such, because it just doesn't know when it's going to get its next, serve of food in that space. So a lot of the time it's really a case of females not actually eating enough. Alrighty, so please, if your goal is to lose weight, consider, as I say before, the bigger picture. Don't just jump in thinking that you actually have to cut down on your food. Like, obviously there is, individual and everyone is different as such. However, a lot of the time there is actually cases where you do need to eat more food to actually allow your body to be in a state of homeostasis as such. So a state of balance. Alrighty, so I'm going to jump in now to actually explore 5 or 6 ways of what I like to call low-hanging fruit, ways that we can implement and practice from today to move you closer to your goal of losing weight. And let's talk about the types of foods to eat if your goal is to lose weight. And when I say low-hanging fruit, these are things that are, I think, or I believe, super simple in the space of you can actually do it straight away, and it's not like they're think of a big fruit tree. Are you going to be reaching for the highest, most top fruit first to pick? Usually it's a lot easier to grab the low-hanging fruit first, so the smaller things that are going to make a bigger impact in that space over a longer period of time. Alrighty, so first up, protein. So to lose weight, protein is essential. It's essential for our metabolism and it's essential for all our bodily functions. Alrighty, it actually affects our appetite and it also affects the number of calories that we do burn. So when we're eating protein, it actually takes our body more energy to actually digest that protein as such. So 30% of those calories from that actual protein food is spent actually digesting and breaking down the protein. It's called the thermal effect of feeding. So that's pretty cool within itself. So the more protein we eat in that space, our body's actually working super hard to break down that protein and to actually digest it. Alrighty, and remember feeling fuller for longer? I touched on that earlier. protein is the main macronutrient that's going to allow you to do this. Alrighty, so, and when I talk about protein, so I'm talking about your lean meats, I'm talking about chicken, turkey, eggs, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, for example. For my vegans out there, I know I've got a couple of vegans, so hello. So protein sources for vegans would be your tofu, your soybeans, nuts, legumes, lentils, chickpeas, those type of things. So, and a lot of those foods, if you're not a vegan as such, actually fall more so under a carbohydrate category for someone that does get their protein from animal products. Alrighty. So eating protein at every meal is going to help us to feel fuller for longer and is going to stop us going back more often for more food. Alrighty, so ensure you're getting a serve of protein at every single meal that you're eating. Alrighty, so that's going to help you to lose weight in that space. Alrighty, next up, so vegetables. So another food to eat to lose weight is vegetables. Alrighty, so vegetables are low in calories and they're high in fiber. So it's another thing that's going to allow us to feel fuller for longer. And it actually is a great way to add volume to our meals. Like I was talking earlier about getting the most amount of food for the least amount of calories possible. So it's another great way to add volume to our meals, without the extra calories as such. Cruciferous vegetables in particular, like your kale, your cabbage, your broccoli, that type of thing. These vegetables are high in phytonutrients. Alrighty, and vegetables are very high in a lot of micronutrients. So think about eating the rainbow. So eat a lot of different colored vegetables in this space. Alrighty, but going back to the phytonutrients, so they're actual compounds that the plant uses to protect itself, and how they're beneficial for us as humans is they're full of antioxidants and full of anti-inflammatory properties, which helps to keep our bodies healthy. Alrighty, so add as many vegetables and salad items as you can to your plate when you're having your meals. Now, when I talk about vegetables in this space, I'm actually not talking about like your potato, your sweet potato, or your pumpkin, which is more carbohydrate sources in this space. So yes, your vegetables are carbohydrates. However, those three vegetables in particular, your starchy vegetables, are a little bit higher in calories in that space. So think about when you're plating up your food. So actually, serve yourself up half a plate full of vegetables or of salad as such. So adding in those cruciferous vegetables and a lot of different colored type of vegetables in that space as well. So half of your plate being vegetables, a quarter of your plate being your protein source, so your meat or your chicken or your eggs. And then the last quarter, that's the space where you can actually add in then your sweet potato, your pumpkin, your white potato, and also your good fats as well. So just making sure you're getting a little bit of everything in the sense of your macronutrients on your plate at one time. Alrighty, so fiber is up next. So I touched on that a little bit with your vegetables. So vegetables are full of fiber. Now, fiber is the indigestible parts of plants that actually pass through our digestive system unchanged. However, they do help to keep our gut nice and healthy in that space, and allow our bowel movements to become easier. Alrighty, so make sure you're eating a lot of fiber. So it's another food, as I said, that helps you to keep fuller for longer. And as you can probably sense already, so the three food topics I've touched on all help us to feel fuller for longer. Alrighty, and that's the big key here. So nutrient dense foods that help us to keep fuller for longer are going to stop us from going back to the fridge or back to the cupboard over and over again and getting more food. Alrighty, and they also, fiber also helps us to prevent overeating in that space. So when I'm talking about fiber, so yes, vegetables, you get fiber from your fruit, whole grains like your quinoa, your oats, your rye, also the beans, legumes, that type of thing as well is full of fiber. And when I'm talking about fiber in that space as well is think about your food in its natural source possible. So get or access your food as natural to the, as close to the natural source as possible. So for example's sake, if we think about an orange versus orange juice, alrighty, so from that orange, you're going to get a whole heap of fiber and also of all your added nutrients and micronutrients as well, compared to your orange juice, which is highly processed and highly refined in that sense and is taking all the goodness out of that product. And it's actually also adding in the things that we don't really want to be eating, like a lot of sugars and everything like that to enhance the taste of those products. Alrighty, and also now when I talk about whole grains, so we want to try and avoid refined grains as such. So that's where the whole grain has been processed so that the grain is no longer intact as such. And when they actually do that, they pull out the whole grain, then they're actually eliminating a lot of the fiber in that space. And when the fiber goes from a particular product like that, there's a lot more sugar, and the sugar, is easily or more easily absorbed into our bloodstream in that space. Alrighty, so that can lead to, inflammation of the gut as well as obesity down the track if you're eating a lot of refined grains in that space. So when I'm talking about refined grains, I'm talking about your white flours or your wheat flours, your white bread, also white rice to a degree as well is a refined grain. Alrighty, so we want to fill up on whole grains, vegetables, fruit for your fiber, and try to avoid or minimize your refined grains in that space. Alrighty, so that kind of leads into the next topic as well, which actually isn't a food to eat as such, more so a food or a division of foods to avoid or to eliminate or reduce from your diet. So this is the processed foods and refined carbohydrates. So here I'm talking about, your pies, your pastries, your cakes, your biscuits. So all of these are, usually packaged foods and they're high in trans fats. And there's nothing good about trans fats for our bodies whatsoever. By all means, they can most definitely taste good. I do have a sweet tooth myself, so, I get it. I have, I do eat cakes, absolutely. However, when I talk about nutrient-dense foods versus nutrient-empty foods, unfortunately, these type of foods fall into the nutrient-empty type of foods. They also, they also contribute to gut health issues and inflammation in that space as well, and they actually just really make us feel blah. Alrighty, so as I touched on, they're nutrient empty type of foods in that space, and I think logically we all know this as such. But as I touched on, they do taste good, and this is they're actually marketed and made to taste good, so they're made to keep going back to in that space. So don't feel bad in the sense of, falling for anything or, being lulled into a false sense of security when it comes to these type of foods. They're actually made to keep you going back to them. Sodium added, sugar added. So, they taste good, it feels good. The texture of those foods feel good in our mouth as well. So they're made for you to keep going back to. And as I touched on before in regards to the orange versus the orange juice, so the orange juice is a processed food in that space. So we want to keep to foods closest to their natural form as possible. Alrighty, so they're going to be the more nutrient dense foods in this space. Alrighty, so try and reduce your intake of those type of foods. So for example, if you're eating crisps or, chips, potato chips in that space, start slowly with trying to then trade those out. And what I like to say is I'm not a big believer in eliminating foods from your diet as such. I'm more of a believer of adding foods in, so you're getting the nutrients and the proteins and the good stuff that you actually need from these nutrient dense foods, that you get to a point that you don't actually even want the other foods, whatsoever, just because you don't actually feel hungry for them whatsoever. Your cravings disappear. It's amazing, and it's so good. Alrighty, so start slow. Like if you're someone that eats a lot of these type of foods, start slowly. So instead of having, that packet of crisps, grab some veggie sticks and maybe some hummus dip as well. And I've got an awesome recipe for hummus dip, and it's so simple to make. So if you want the recipe for that, just pop in the comments, hashtag hummus dip, and I'll be able to send that through to you. Alrighty, or an afternoon tea muffin or cake or pastry or something that you're having, swap that out for some Greek yogurt with berries, like some frozen berries. That's what I have as an afternoon snack, and the berries just add that sweetness. And as I mentioned, I do have a sweet tooth in that space, so that just satisfies my cravings in that space, because I'm also eating it with a protein source as well. So it's helping to keep me nice and full in that space. Alrighty, and moving along to my last little tip here. Alrighty, and this one is actually based around how we eat. Alrighty, so to lose weight, we really need to become self-aware, aware of, what our food choices are, aware of how we're eating, where we're eating, etc., etc. So I want you to practice mindful eating. Alrighty, so actually sit down at the table to eat your food rather than rushing around or sitting there watching TV. So turn off the TV, pop your phone away, and just practice mindful eating. And don't get me wrong, it is difficult to begin with, because I actually did an experiment myself, and I'm guilty of having my phone near me when I'm eating, just checking messages and replying to people and stuff, because it that just fitted into my work day as such. However, to actually practice mindful eating, we are actually sitting there with no distractions whatsoever. And I understand that can be difficult, especially with children. However, again, start off slowly. Just try one meal a day to begin with, where you're actually sitting there with no distractions and you're just eating really slowly. So, chew your food, actually taste the food in your mouth, savor the taste, think about what it tastes like, think about the texture, actually smell your food, and it will actually help you to lose weight over the long run. I actually had a client that, specifically practiced mindful eating over a space of 4 weeks, and just by doing that, she didn't change the foods that she was eating, she literally just practiced mindful eating, and she lost 2 kilos in that 4-week period. And that's amazing. And it was simply because she actually sat down and mindfully ate her food. Alrighty, so she got rid of the distractions and she tasted, she enjoyed her food. And that is, a really great way that we can actually get to recognize our body's satiety clues in that space as well. Because we're living in such a fast-paced environment, a lot of the time, we'll fill our plate full of food and we feel as if we've just got to get through the food. We've just got to get to the bottom of the plate. However, if we're actually mindfully eating, so, chewing our food for, 10, 15 chews for each mouthful, we will get to a point where we can actually recognize that we're starting to feel full. And if we're engulfing our food and eating it so fast, we're missing those cues that our body is sending off to us. Alrighty, so that's a big one, to actually practice mindful eating. And if you can do that on a consistent basis, I can guarantee you will see results in that space. So it's all about awareness around your food and exactly, awareness of what you're actually doing. And another good thing I like to, encourage my clients to do is to actually keep a food journal as such, because a lot of the time we sometimes don't even realize A, how much we're eating, and B, what we're eating in that space. So if you actually keep a food journal over the space of, just do it for a week to begin with, you actually get to really recognize what it is you're eating, when you're eating, how much you're eating. And that can encourage and prompt change in that space as well. Alrighty, everyone. I really hope you found some benefit from my video today, my top tips on what to eat to lose weight. So if you're watching this back on replay, please let me know, #replay. Give me the thumbs up button if anything I've said today has resonated with you and you're going to try out those tips. Just hit the heart button for me. Send me some love in that space. And I'd really like to know your tips as well. If you've got any tips that you use to lose weight, pop them in the comments below as well. And that's sure to help other people within the group as well, which is amazing. Alrighty, guys, I hope you have the best day. See you next time. Bye.